Ochoya sampo pagyu trashipa tuche tempe trinle yarmada belge drolor zampe se parche palde lame shabla solvade Omo a guru vajradhara sumati monishas Uta vardani shri badra vasa Omo a guru vajradhara sumati monishas Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi Om guru vajradhara sumati monishas aneka Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi Om guru vajradhara sumati monishas Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om A Guru Sumati Monisha Sane Karma Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sane Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om A Guru Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Pakyuke Kudan Dagilo Pakyuke Sundan Dagima Pakyuke Sudan Dagilo Tenyerme çıktı cingelo Makyöke kudan da gelüm Makyöke sundan da gelüm Makyöke sundan da gelüm Tenyerme çıktı cingelo Omo Mahamuni Shakyamuni Soha Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni 소개 천함나 전주 벌도 당이 겹수치 나기 진속이베 선함기 Rola Pinchra Sangye Drupara Shua Sangye Chodam Soge Chonam La Chancho Dagi Jinso Give Sonam Ki Rola Pinchra Sangye Drupara Shua Sangye Chodam Soge Chonam La Chancho Rola Pinchara Sangye Drupara. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo Haye Krabhidanajike Rodami Kiramna Dropangiranam Tamjeketu Dagi Cheten. Page number 29. Tumolamjan nötu gyurpana tekpa kungi chögü dorje tek. Kelsan keo junga tambater dela nitu jukpar chingilo. Tetse ngoru namni drubeshi namdadase dombra somala chöma mimbe ngeba nyegyone sodan döde somala chingilo. Tene gyude nimbo remnyegi nenam jishin tonet sömbayi Tunshin Neljur Chole Mianwar Tambe Sunshin Drubra Chingi Lo. Okay. So the next three verses referred to the Vajrayana path. So, as we saw, when we check about the gradual path to enlightenment, we start by relying correctly upon the Guru. So having a path to follow. Then after that, what are the steps? Recognizing the preciousness of the conditions that we have in this life. Then certainty of death and the certainty of the uncertainty of the moment of death. Then we have the law of karma, understanding samsara, developing the strong wish to get out of samsara and to reach nirvana. Then comes developing bodhicitta, opening our heart towards others. Then practicing the 6 perfections within the path of the bodhisattva. Okay? The next part of the path means having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, which is what we have just explained up to now. So we become a pure vessel to receive the Vajrayana teachings once we have trained ourselves into loving oneself and loving others and the correct view of reality. This is basically training in the general path. Please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. The Vajra vehicle are the methods that are taught the so-called Vajrayana. So the methods here, which also we call Tantra, are specific methods to help us to be able to reach enlightenment faster. So I will try to make one quick explanation. Why Vajrayana is faster than Sutra? What's the main difference? Okay. Every time I think I want to explain things more simple and fast, I put myself into difficult situations. One thing to say, explain things that are a little bit more complex, but we do. the root of suffering is ignorance. But the ignorance that is the root of suffering, at what level is it the root of suffering? At a conceptual level, at a subtle level, or at a very subtle level? It's at a very subtle level. It's at a level that we bring from life to life, okay? So making it simple, in order to apply an antidote at a gross conceptual level, I need to have, in order to eliminate a defilement at a gross level, I need to have an antidote at what level? Gross level. It goes together, no? So if I have a conceptual misunderstanding, I can generate an opposite conceptual understanding to oppose it. If I have an emotional, negative emotion, I need to generate something positive and opposite on an emotional level. I need to generate on the same level. And if I have a misunderstanding, like an ignorance, if I grasp at reality in an inconsistent way, at a very subtle level, at a very profound, spontaneous level, I need to generate the wisdom that realizes that reality is not in this way at the same profound level. Okay? So, here there are two ways how we can do it. The first way, it is that in which we work from the gross level, because everything that I do on a gross level, it will inevitably make some influence in a more subtle level. Okay? But it takes long time. First, I need to change something in the conceptual growth level. Then gradually, as I change it, I influence on a more subtle emotional level. Then as I change that and I familiarize that, slowly, it will it's like liquid that goes inside slowly, like permeates. Goes deeper and deeper until it reaches the very subtle mind. Okay? And this is possible, but it takes a very long time. Okay? That's why Buddha described it as 3 eons process. Okay? 3 eons, luckily time is relative, but still. That's a very long process. Which for me personally, when I see that there is a long process, I think, oh, that's so good. Because it means it's possible. It means every small step slowly makes the difference. Okay? The other possibility is that instead of working from a gross level in order to permeate and influences on a subtle level and then transforming in a subtle level, creating the habit and slowly shaping on a very subtle level, is the fact that if I am able to generate a state of consciousness that is an antidote directly in the very subtle level, I can act directly from the root. It's like making a metaphor which is not very good, but imagine that there is a war. And I have many levels. First I have those soldiers, then there are the general, and then on top of there is the center, there is the king. Okay? If I change the mind of the king, can I change the war? If I go there and I kill the king, or I change the mind of the king, better change his mind. If I can change the mind of the king, can I change the whole result? No? But it's not easy to go inside and go in between the soldiers and go within the generals and be able to be there and be eye in eye together with the king and be able to change his mind. That's not obvious, okay? That's the work of a very highly experienced spy, which is very difficult to get. It's much more easy to have thousands of soldiers to go soldier to soldier than find one spy that can do that. Okay? But which one of the two is more effective and faster? Spy. Go direct into the root of the problem, change it from inside, and then the whole rest comes out. Similar to that, in our process there are two possible ways. One way is we work on a gross level by changing our behavior, by meditating on the correct view of reality, developing love and compassion, and we develop this wisdom and love on a gross conceptual level, and we repeat it for a very long time. Slowly it comes at a more emotional level. Slowly it changes our imprints at a very subtle level, and life after life we make this deeper change, which is okay. The alternative is we generate the mind of the antidote, which is this mind of wisdom and compassion, and we induce that state of consciousness to a subtle and very subtle level. Okay? So basically, it's like allowing myself to go at a very subtle level with the state of wisdom and compassion, and it's like entering, like a spy going inside of one's own self until it goes to the very essence, which is the very subtle mind, and then making and applying the antidote at the very center. If we are able to do this, we can cut the root of samsara without needing to cut the branches. This is better, no? But it's similar. It's much easier to train the soldiers than training the spy. Okay, so Vajrayana Buddhism is basically the methods to train the spy. It's like, it's one shot to win the war, but you need one lifetime of training in order to be able to get that shot well. The other one, you need very little training, but you need to do it many times. Okay, I don't know if it's clear, the analogy. So in Vajrayana Buddhism, basically what we are learning, making it very short, is how to generate this antidote, this state of love and compassion and wisdom in a subtle and very subtle state of consciousness. And the main moment when we can use this opportunity is in the process of death itself, because when anyone dies, what happens is that when the gross body ceases to have strength, the gross mind also stops working, and the subtle mind takes the direction of the last thought of the gross mind. Then when the subtle body stops and the subtle mind also, the last thought of the subtle mind directs the next thought of the very subtle mind. So if we are able to enter into this process of dissolution with a state of consciousness of compassion, love and wisdom, then we can induce ourselves to a more subtle level of consciousness within that state. So basically Vajrayana is very much about one shot, but training a long time to get it right. I don't know if it's clear, this idea. Okay? So you train in order one time, then when you get it done, boom, you're done at once. This is the idea, okay? Trying to make it simple. Another particular concept of the Vajrayana is the fact of bringing the result into the path. I am not yet a Buddha, but I act as if I was. So I will see the world, and I will relate to other people, and I will do everything as if I was a Buddha. So I bring the result into the path, so that gradually the result becomes real. This is the other concept there. But the main key why the Vajrayana allows us to go to enlightenment very fast is because there is this method which is called the union of great bliss and emptiness, through which the state of bliss is a physical state, physical mental state actually, which naturally brings the person to a deeper state of consciousness. So we use this state of pleasure. For example, try to remember one time when you experience great pleasure. It doesn't matter which was the condition through which you experience pleasure. It could be food, it could be something you saw, it could be a particular memory, it could be sex, it could be anything. Any type of connection through which you experience a sort of overwhelming pleasure. In the moment of overwhelming pleasure, is your mind present in the present? Is it checking the past? Is it projecting in the future? Where is the mind in the moment of pleasure? In the present. One time I read one book from one Tibetan scholar, mystical scholar, called Amdo, I forgot his name. Anyhow, very special man. And in this book, he was talking about the whole part of desire and so on. And one moment he says, you know, maybe one of the best things why pleasure is so good, why we enjoy and why we are so attached to the state of pleasure. And he was somehow talking specifically about sexual pleasure also. Say, it's so good because finally your mind relaxes. Because finally you are able to stop analyzing the past and projecting in the future and judging everything in the present. Finally you're able to rest the conceptual mind. You know? And from this, he was also saying, from this you can understand the level of pleasure of resting the mind. Okay? So, in a way, the physical state of pleasure naturally brings the mind from a conceptual state to a non-conceptual state. Also pain. Huh? When you are in very strong pain, are you judging the past or the future? No. But it's better to go through the path through joy than through pain. Okay? But it's also have this function in a way, at least. Normally it's not explained like that, but when I observe myself, in my logical mind, I always debating mind, I was saying, yeah, it's true that bliss has this power, but pain somehow also. Or not? Okay? But I never saw in any Buddhist text saying the path of pain and emptiness, you know? It's the path of bliss and emptiness, but not the path of pain and emptiness. And bliss is basically one of the most powerful tools that we have to bring our mind from a conceptual gross level to a non-conceptual, more subtle level. And the stronger and the deeper is the experience of bliss, the deeper our mind is brought as a deeper level of consciousness. Okay? So, experiencing bliss just by itself has no any particular benefit. Because whenever we enter from a gross level of consciousness to a more subtle state of consciousness, the last thought of the gross level will influence the next thought of the subtle level. So, for example, what happens if I am feeling a sensation of gratitude, and within the feeling of gratitude, I enter into a more subtle state of consciousness? I familiarize myself with gratitude on a deeper level. Okay? But what happens when I enter into a deeper state of consciousness with a mind of attachment, in a state of selfishness? What I familiarize myself with? Attachment and selfishness, right? So, this is why Lama Tsongkhapa, in the commentary of Buddha Samaja, when he is describing the power of bliss, of pleasure, he says that the first condition to be able to use bliss, physical pleasure, as a method for enlightenment, the first thing is the non-attachment to bliss itself. Okay? So, but anyhow, now I'm entering into a whole other subject, but it's saying it's a non-attachment to bliss itself, because otherwise, once we see the bliss as a goal, not as a mean, then we get lost in it. Because if I experience bliss with mainly the intention of experiencing it, that's my main goal, I want my pleasure, what is the mental state that I bring in a deeper level? Selfishness and attachment. Instead, if I do it with a mind of love, of kindness, of gratitude, of any positive thought, that's what I will generate. That's why it is also said that the sexual energy, it's something that is like a vortex that can bring you or down or up. Because basically, if it's something that we generate a deeper state of consciousness, but with a mind of attachment, of greed, of selfishness, which is the mind of I want my pleasure, I am just getting more and more deep into my own samsara. Instead, on the other side, if I enter into a deeper state of consciousness, at least with a mind of genuine love. Then what am I familiarizing myself with? Genuine love. So this is something that is very important. What is the mind state that we generate when we go deeper? And the same thing happens when we fall asleep. The same thing happens when we die. Okay. So moment of death is the greatest opportunity that we all have on our own spiritual development, actually. Because that's the moment that, wanting or not, the gross mind stops, the subtle mind manifests, then the subtle mind stops, and the very subtle mind manifests. And the direction that we give in the moment of that, that's the direction that our subtle mind will manifest. So, actually, every time anyone dies, that's a very special opportunity to go deep inside, like for the spy to go in and go down to the king and change the mind of the king. That's an opportunity. Every time we die, we have that opportunity.
You need to be trained.
With sleep, it's much, much, much more gross. There is a little opportunity there but to train. Actually, during the moment of sleep, it's the best opportunity to train in order to be able to do in the moment of death. It's not happening the same thing. It's like we are training to do it. It's an opportunity that is there. If we're able to do in sleep, then we're able most probably to do in death. Okay. But there is a whole, yeah?
When you're present, when somebody else dies, can you try to help them to reach that state?
The best way of, they will reach that state anyhow. Everybody when dying goes into this very subtle state of consciousness.
Yeah, but to give them...
To do it in a positive way. So the only or the main thing that we can do, not the only, but the main thing that we can do to help someone that is dying is find ways to induce the person to die in a positive state of mind. So in a state of gratitude, of faith, of love, of peace. If we can help the person to die in a peaceful state of mind, that's the best that we can do for that. Completely. Okay? And that's really, really the most important part. And there are many examples where this happens. So this is something positive. But the best thing to do for someone that is dying is helping to die with a positive mind. And for ourselves, we need to train ourselves at least, to go to sleep with a positive mind at least. And slowly training ourselves to generate a positive mind in whatever situation we find. So when it comes to our death, we are used to generate a positive state of mind. Okay? But in the Vajrayana, what is teaching us is how to train in all of this. So to train ourselves to generate this state of bliss. So we will maybe during the time when we are alive in this body, we are not able to go directly into the room of the king and change his mind. But actually it's possible to go just in front of his door. Up there is possible. And it already make a lot of difference. So by there are different states of meditation which we can go deeper and deeper into ourselves. But really, really deep inside, mainly it's in the moment of death. There are some other alternatives, but mainly it's in the moment of death. So, this is one way. The other point of the Vajrayana path, is it clear the difference between the path of Sutra and Tantra in this way? Okay, just first to understand a little bit. The other aspect is that in the Vajrayana path, we generate, with the sadhanas, we generate experiences, which is different than meditating in concepts. Because with the whole process of visualization and so on, we are generating new experiences. And through the experience, we familiarize ourselves in a non-conceptual way. And this is very powerful also. Okay? So, at that time, the basis of accomplishing the two attainments is keeping pure vows and samaya. As I have become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. Which means, when I am ready to enter the Vajrayana path, and I am able to enter the path of the Vajrayana by receiving the empowerment, the transmissions, the commentaries, and so on, it is very, very important to keep our commitments purely, to keep the relationship with our spiritual guide in a pure level, to keep our trust, to keep our love, and so on, pure. This is like the fundamental condition in order to be able to practice well the Vajrayana. Okay? So he's saying, once I understand it, may I be able to protect my own commitments, my own relationship, my own samaya, which is a word that is difficult to translate, even at the cost of my own life. That's the most important thing that I need to keep. I need to keep the samaya pure, which is I need to keep the relationship pure. This is something that is very important. Okay? And then the next one says, then, and just one thing, when we talk about the commitment is not only how many mantras I recite every day. This is also part of a sort of commitment also. You know, when I take an empowerment and then I commit myself to recite a certain number of mantras. Sure, it's also important. But what we mean mainly here by Samaya is the connection that we have with the Guru, with the Yidam. That's the relationship that we create, which is this feeling of trust, of love, of faith. That's the main thing that we need to cultivate and to keep. That's very, very important, okay? So, then, having realized the importance of the two stages, the essence of the Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, never giving up the 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. So having realized the importance of the 2 stages, which are the 2 stages? Generation stage and completion stage. Okay? The main difference is that generation stage is the process of the practice where we imagine ourselves generating a certain state of consciousness, and we imagine ourselves in this state of bliss and emptiness. It's basically the part in which we prepare by imagining. Completion stage is when we actually make the subtle energy winds to go inside the central channel, and when we actually bring ourselves to a more deeper state of consciousness, and we experience the actual thing. We are not imagining it. It's like an athlete that first imagines all the jump that he needs to do, and then actually the moment that he goes to jump. Both are important. Okay? So generation stage is basically where we meditate, we imagine, we prepare ourselves. Completion stage is where actually we train ourselves to enter into more subtle states of consciousness, is when actually, as it's described, the winds, the subtle energy winds go into the central channel, the person actually generates a deeper state of consciousness, and with the right attitude. So this is called completion stage. So once you have realized the importance of these 2 stages, which is the essence of the Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, with great effort, never giving up the 4 sessions. This is showing us that the practice is not by understanding once, and it's not done once, but it's something that we need to repeat again and again. It's like a lifetime training, and ideally done in 4 sessions. 4 sessions means around 12 hours a day of meditation. Okay? This is normally what is done when someone is doing a long retreat, like 3 years retreat, 4 years retreat, 1 year retreat, whatever. Then you have 4 sessions, which means even short-term retreat. You do 1 meditation session before sunrise, 1 meditation session after breakfast, 1 meditation session after lunch, and 1 meditation session before dinner, or after dinner, depends what time you have dinner. So basically, by having this, you do 4 sessions. Each session is more or less 3 hours. Okay? And by this you do the same sadhana, the same process 4 times in a day. So if you are actually practicing in this way, and you can imagine that you do the meditation where you create a whole experience and you go through it, and then you conclude it, Then you have a short break when you have breakfast. Then you go enter again into it, and you go through that experience. Then you conclude, then you have lunch, then you go back. And in between the sessions, you are keeping the mind in the same direction. When you go into sleep, you push the mind in the same direction. You know, it's like a full-time brainwash. That's what we are doing, you know. It's a full-time brainwash and a good brainwash, but that's what we are doing. It's very powerful, actually. Very, very powerful. The problem is that, and without distractions, without reading messages, without using the phone, without talking to other people, without having any other outer distractions. That's a very powerful way of shaping one's own mind. Okay. And but before that, and I hope everyone will have the opportunity to have some experience of doing such type of retreat, which is possible. But at least, you know, once we have a practice and we understand, we should do it at least once a day. It's one session a day, which is already very good. And outside of the sessions, we follow our daily actions with awareness of the path. These two things together is also very powerful. So, one session means you do self-healing once a day. You do the practice of Tarachtamani or Vajra Yogini or any practice that is your main practice that you find, you do once a day. And you do it with attention. It can be brief or it can be long, but you do once a day. So, what Lama Tsongkhapa is telling us here is that once you enter into the Vajrayana path, you need to put effort. It's something constant. It's not something that you go from one day to the other. It's something that takes the time. And the important thing is that we train the whole life. And this training by itself already creates a lot of positive effects. But by training the whole life, the real thing happens in the moment of death. That's when we can say, okay, now that's the real moment. I've trained my whole life, now let's make it happen. That's why it is said that the good practitioners, they fear death their whole life, and they are so happy when it comes. Fear in the sense that they are sure that they will die, they don't know when, so they prepare themselves for death their whole lives. But when it comes, they say, wow, that's a good thing. That's a wonderful opportunity that I have right now. Okay? So that's also why, for example, just taking the opportunity, some people ask me, but in the moment of death, is it okay to use sedation or not? Well, sedation, you say, no?
Yeah.
To use sedation, to use like morphine or other things like this, no? The answer is, depends very much on the person, but on 99.99999% of people, it's no problem. The main issue is, if you prepare yourself your whole life to die with awareness, and in the moment of death, you get drunk, you lose a one-life opportunity. Right? So if you have prepared yourself to die with the right awareness, better not to take anything that takes away your mental clarity in the moment of death. Instead, if you have not prepared yourself, and you are about to die, and there is a lot of pain and so on, and you do not react well to pain, and by having more pain you will react with more anger and so on, better to take a lot of morphine. I think it's clear, no, the logic. The point is, we need to die with a positive state of mind, and if the pain will make it more difficult, then better not. Instead, if you have a strong mind and you are able not to enter into a negative state of mind, even with the pain, just came to my mind this last week, I went to see one friend of ours in Italy that is very sick, and it's an incredible example because it's now 2 years that the doctors said there is not much to do, and the doctors are amazed how well she is, even though the sickness continues to degenerate, because in these 2 years she never took not even once a painkiller, and she should be in very strong morphine, according to the normal thing. And the doctors look and they say, I don't know how you do. The way how your body is, I cannot understand how you do. And she has such strong faith, such strong mind. So she's able to keep the mind into the positive way, to do her practices, to be grateful to life and to everyone. Incredible way. And then the pain somehow, she says, I have so much pain, I go for a small walk, the pain fades away. I can do my prayers, the pain fades away. I don't give importance to it, and so on. So if someone has this ability, which I have seen people with it, and I'm talking about someone just I met last Wednesday, not talking about something that is so far from all of us, it's possible, then in this case, better not to get drunk in the moment of death. But in the case of most of us, if we are not prepared well during our lifetime and it comes to the moment of death, the most important is to find the best conditions to die peacefully. And if this means entering into this sort of drunken state with the morphine or whatever, within a positive state of mind as much as possible, then okay, then we induce into that way. Okay? But if we are a good practitioner, then better not. Okay? But when will come our moment, don't be attached to the idea, I am a good practitioner. You know yourself, okay? You know yourself, so you need to know what you need, what you don't need, how you go. For example, I know people that had very strong mind and wanted to keep mental clarity until the last moment. One man that come to my mind. He was until the last moment saying, I don't want any morphine, anything, I want to keep my mental clarity. But he was used in his life to go through a lot of pain, and he was able to keep his stability. He was not Buddhist, but he had this thing. And then in the last moment, family, everyone convinced him to take the morphine and so on. In the moment he said yes, they came with the injection. When they come with near the injection, he was gone. So he was able to keep until the last second with home mental clarity. You know? So the important thing is more than having mental clarity, having a positive state of mind. And this is possible. So one of the keys for that is to direct our mind into something positive in the moments of difficulty. So I'd just like to give 2 examples very briefly about this, that to give some hope to everyone also. Which is example of someone from our Sangha. One was our friend in Italy. Her name was Patrizia Beninca. She passed away some years ago. She had some very serious problems in the liver. And one moment, 1.5 years before she passed away, she was in Dubai to see a friend. And while she was there, she had a problem. In the middle of the night, she started vomiting blood. And she was very bad, so they took her to the hospital. She went in coma, and she stayed for 10 days in coma. And there was a semi-type of coma, but she was very high probability of not surviving and so on. It was very bad. And finally she got better and so on. But she was saying that all the time that she was in coma, this sort of semi-coma, I asked how it was. She said, I had such a good experience. Because while I was in coma, I was all the time reciting the mantra of the Guru. Oma Guru Vajradhara. I was reciting the mantra of the Guru all the time and had this beautiful, peaceful feeling. And sometimes I was worried because I had perception of people around me, and I was in a Muslim country and I was thinking, what would they think if I do Buddhist prayers here, you know? But at the same time, this was the only uncomfortable thought from time to time, but all the time was this beautiful, wonderful feeling of being in refuge and peaceful feeling while reciting the mantra of the Guru. This is one good example. And she was not the greatest yogi that is all the time meditating. She was a person having faith in her own path, like many of us. Okay. And another friend, she had a car accident in Milan. And during the car accident, the car went around like this and like this. It was quite bad car accident. And she fainted during the accident. And she had any real physical harm, but she fainted. And when the ambulance came and they wake her up, and she wake up with a beautiful smile. And they said, are you okay? She said, I've never been better. But what is happening? And she was saying that her inner experience in this moment was that of taking refuge. She was saying, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya. I don't know if reciting or singing inside, but this feeling of the taking of refuge and very profound, peaceful and loving feeling, she said. So this is two examples of people that were near to us. The second one, I don't say the name because I just saw her Wednesday. She's there. No need to make this type of publicity. But the fact is that it's something that once we direct our mind to what is positive in the difficult moments, it's a very powerful thing. So that's why we concentrate in our refuge, we connect with faith, with gratitude, with love, we connect with our practice, and in the moment of the difficulties, this is a very powerful tool, especially in the moment of death, also very powerful tool. So we have the tools, so nothing to worry in that sense. Okay. So, this text, it's mainly not explaining each part of the path, but giving us a very overview so that we can connect with the different steps and we can make our prayer, we can direct our mind as a way of developing desire for this. May I be able to do this? May I be able to do that? So we somehow connect to each step of the path. Okay. The next verse, which is the last verse actually, second last verse, says, Tetalam sam tempe shenyan dan sushin druga drunam shatin shin, chidanangi pardu chobetso nyawar shiwar chingi laptuso. It's a dedication, which is a very commonly used in many contexts, this dedication here written by Lama Tsongkhapa that says, in such way, like that, may the gurus who show the noble path and the spiritual friends who practice it have long life. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances, interferences. So may all the gurus and may all the friends of the Sangha, everyone that accompany me during the path, have a long life, be healthy, be well, and may all interferences that may appear on my path be completely eliminated. So there are three types of interferences: outer interferences, inner interferences, and secret interferences. Outer interferences are basically things that happen outside of us, so behavior from other people, spirits, environment, weather, animals, anything that happens outside of us, that's an outer interference. What is an interference? It's something that doesn't allow us to do something that we want to do. Okay? So if I want to go from here to the door there, and in between something blocks me, it is an interference to get there. Okay? So anything that blocks me from something is an interference for that. So interference is not something necessarily negative. I want to kill someone and someone blocks me on my way. That's a good interference. Okay? So, sometimes it happens, huh? I'm not meaning killing, but maybe we are so angry and we want to fight with someone and then in the middle of the way something happens and we are not able to fight. Okay? That's a positive interference. Okay? Just to understand the meaning of interference. So interference is when we have an objective. We have something that we want to do, a goal, and on the pathway to do that, something happens that doesn't allow us fully. So there are external interferences for what? Interferences for our practice of Dharma, interferences for developing love and wisdom, interferences in order to be able to fulfill the holy words of our gurus, and able to help others. You know, these are, we put on our path to enlightenment. There are outer interferences that can happen. Then there are inner interferences. Inner interferences is, I want to go from here to that door. In between, I get fear. In between, I get uncertainty. Should I go? Should I not go? Or maybe if I go, something happens there. Maybe better not. Oh, but if I go, what the other person will think. Or maybe I am going there and then in my mind just come another idea. That's an inner interference and then I don't go. And then so normally inner interferences are doubt, fear, anger, jealousy, any inner thing happening that blockages us in our path. And then there are secret interferences. Secret interferences is, I want to go to that door, but while I am going there, I see the flowers. And they are so beautiful. They are so nice. So I stay, I smell the flowers, and then I forget about going to the door. Or I cannot go there. So it's not that the flowers are bad. They are actually good. But what happens is that they don't allow me to get where I wanted. So secret interference is something that manifests as positive, but that blockages something even more positive. You remember the story that I told about this Lama that was writing 100 volumes by going around the stupa? Okay? Some masters, some generations after, said that one moment, the complete story was that at one moment, someone came early morning in a special, auspicious day and offered to him paper and pen, which in Tibet was very expensive and very rare. So he saw it as a very positive, auspicious sign that he needs to write. But what happened is that, according to some masters later, this was a secret interference. Because he took a lot of his life dedicating to writing, but based on the levels of knowledge and experience that he had, if instead of writing he would meditate, most probably during that same lifetime he could have reached the state of Buddhahood. Instead, he passed his life writing, which is something wonderful, but it's better to become a Buddha. So this is called a secret interference, it's called in that way.
So it's a mix coming from outside, outer interference?
It can be both, outer or inner. Secret, it's something that manifests as something good.
Positive, yeah.
It's something that manifests as something positive, which is not negative, but it blockages something even better. Okay? So I don't know, I like to meditate, but in between I have a nice talk to a friend. Nothing wrong having a nice talk to a friend, but I end up not meditating. So it's a secret interference. Secret interference can be outer or inner. Okay? But what's the key of interferences for me? First thing, we need to learn to see interference as interference and not as something to follow. Something to follow. I am going towards the door, someone come and start talking to me and saying, you cannot go there, blah, 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 blah. I see this as an interference, which means I need to overcome it. I will find my way to go around the person, to say, yes, I will. I put him down to the floor. I find a way to say, no, I'm not following you. I show him, look, something out there, and I run to the door. I find a way how to overcome the interference. The problem, the interference becomes a real interference in the moment that I don't see it as an interference, but as something to follow. I meet the person wants to discuss with me, and then I enter in the discussion, and then I start fighting, and then I allow myself to be taken by it, and then I don't go where I need to go. Okay? So once we learn to see interferences as interferences, they lose 80% of their power. Because most of the power of interferences is gone, is taken because we follow it. We nourish it. We give it space. We give energy. We talk to it. We stay there, And what happens is that we nourish it. Instead, we just say, no, that's just an interference. I continue. And I find the solution. Make one small example. I just need time relation, otherwise... Okay. Maybe some of you remember, some years ago, quite a few years past, we were making the mandalas in the roof of the temple in Albagnano. And it was before, the ones now are in cloth that you can see, the first ones. They were flat, like the one that we have there, actually. This is coming from there, okay? And I had a deadline to put the mandalas because Trijang Rinpoche was coming. It was April. And everything needed to be finished, so I made my program. And I wrote, okay, we need this number of days of cleaning. We need to take out the scaffolds first. Before taking the scaffolds, we need to put the mandalas. In order to put the mandala, we need this amount of time. And then before putting the mandala, we need to finish to paint. And like this, I went backwards on everything that needed to be done. And I had specific timing for everything. And I knew that to put these mandalas, I needed a particular type of screw. Okay? Because it was on plaster, it needed a specific type of screw. So I ordered the screws much before to make sure that they were there for the timing. When came the time, everything was ready to put the mandalas. Now time to put the mandalas. This was my job to put there. I prepare everything. I go to get the screws. My friend, which is from the company that was supposed to give me the screws, he said, oh, sorry, my supplier didn't give me the right ones. They only had this one. And I said, that's a problem, but let's try, first of all. From 10 screws that I put, 1 worked. Then I said, no, this is not possible. So what I did, I went around and I said, okay, where can I get these screws? I called all the companies in Italy selling this type of screw. No one had it on time. There was no possibility. I talked to my friend. He said, talk to your supplier. His supplier said, sorry, I did a mistake. And my friend said, look, it's the first time in 20 years that he does this type of mistake. Okay. What can I do? I fight with him saying, oh, now I am in problem and then what you do and so on. I just lose my energy. So I went around. Finally, I found the factory that was doing this type of screws in Switzerland. One company called Mungo. So I called the factory. And I said, oh, do you have these screws there with you? They said, yes, we do. But we only sell to Swiss. I said, I have Swiss friends, no problem. Can I get it? They said, yes, but in my schedule, we were already a little bit behind schedule because the time to find the screws and all of this took me 2 days, between all this. And I said, okay, in order to be able to finish on time, because Trijang Rinpoche are coming, I cannot wait long for this. So I said, do you have? He said, yes. I took the car, drove the whole night, arrived early in the morning, late in the night, like middle of the night, we arrived there, sleep, 7 in the morning, we were in front of the factory. The guy saw me there. Okay, what do you need? I said, 2 boxes of screws. He said, okay. I got it. And I said, how much? They said, oh, that's a present. I said, okay, thank you very much. I took the boxes of screws, drove back another 7-8 hours back to Albagnano, arrived there, went to put the screws, everything on time, everything worked well. And the good thing was actually the fact of doing it with joy. And I didn't see there was an interference, clearly, which if I followed the interference, which means that I stayed there complaining about it, fighting with the person that didn't bring me the right screws, and I would allow it to block my way. Instead, I didn't follow it. I simply went around it and found another solution. So we follow the interferences when we put our energy into the interference. We allow it to block our way. When we don't allow it to block our way, we say, okay, that's just part, of the process. And I find another way, and I find a solution. And then we go on, and we can find our path. But sometimes we remain very much blocked inside of it.
So basically you give space and allowance for the intuition or something that is given into you.
You connect to the solution. You don't stay blocked with the problem, because the main aspect is because I made a whole plan. I did everything in advance. I ordered someone that I trust, but the thing didn't come right. I could stay complaining about it because things didn't go as they should have gone. Or I can adapt to what is happening and I put my energy in the solution. It's like recently in Albagnano, we got so many problems because of a neighbor. I don't need to go into details now. I don't want to generate aversion in anyone. Because it's my center for you also. So there is this danger of the my and generating aversion. But what happened is that it can be an interference, yes. It is an interference. A lot of time needs to be put in the solution, money also going for the solution, and so on. In very few words, the neighbor said to us that they were not said to us. The neighbor went to the court, to the police and court, we call procura, and denounced us as if we were building everything illegally. So basically the government came to check, and in Italy it works like this. Everything is fine until everything is fine, which means nobody checks unless they check. And when they check every millimeter. So actually, for most of it, it's perfectly fine, but there are some very small things here and there, but the bureaucracy to fix all of this and to do all the documentation and to go through all of this, no any real danger, but it takes months of energy and things in between, and a lot of costs and so on. So basically, in the beginning you feel a little bit, why? But then, in my mind, I came to one logic, which for me worked very well. I cannot remember one moment in my life where there were no interferences. I don't know if you can for your life. There is always something not going as we expect and we don't like. But there are two types of interferences, mainly, outer and inner. Between outer interference and inner interference, it's much better to get outer interference. Also in a group. Like if you are in a family, it's better to have a problem outside than to have fight inside. If you are in company, it's better to have problem with a client than problem with the people working inside, just to say. It's better to have outer interference than inner interference. From the two types from outer and inner, this is an outer interferences, which is better. And second, there are two types of interferences again, both on outer and inner, which is there is one interference that makes little noise and profound deep harm. And then there is another interference that makes a lot of noise and very not so much harm. And this is the best one. Like this kind of interference we got last March. We had like 25 people from the government, between police and officials coming, checking everything, making a lot of noise around, but finally no much substance of real harm. So, this is the best type of interference. It's outer, it makes a lot of noise, it makes very little harm, and it unites us inside, because when we have an external problem together to solve, it makes us to be more together. So that's good. But I don't enter into the process of feeling anger towards the person that is doing that, to enter in the process of fighting against or doing something against and entering into, because if I enter into that, then I really enter into the interference. I allow it to be such. So if we learn how to see interference as interference, it means as something to be avoided, as something to be eliminated, then we don't follow it. And this is one of the best ways to overcome interference. But on the other hand, if we live into this ideal world that is possible to do anything free from any interference, that's just wishful thinking. I never saw for Rinpoche, I never saw for any great Lama, for anyone to do anything completely free from interference. I never ever saw this. Huh?
But keeping your focus on the thing that you want to grow helps you to see the interference also more quickly, or to overcome it more quickly in your mind. But
sure, keeping the focus of what you want to do, of where you are going, and giving the right priority to things. Because the energy we have is limited. So where do I put my energy?
Yeah, when the interference comes into the solution, and before that, focus on your goal.
I have my goal, the interference comes, it's still in my goal, the energy, but it's part of the goal dealing with this difficulty. But I keep the right direction. And it's not part of the goal harming the one that is harming me. It's not part of the goal doing other things in between. It's part of the goal I need to keep focus where I want to go. And this makes a big, big difference, you know. And in this way, it is important. So when we talk about here interferences, the main interferences, the one that we need to fear the most, is the inner interferences. And when they come, we also need to be able not to follow them. So I have my objective, and then I see that fear comes. How much do I follow fear? For example, this is one of the aspects of it. But for me personally, one thing that helps a lot is to understand that interferences are there. They have always been there. I remember one time, not so long ago, with Lama Ganchen, there was a moment, and then there were some problems happening and some difficulties and so on. And then Rinpoche made a comment. He said, "Oh, this is a moment with many interferences there," something like that. And then I said, "Rinpoche, but tell me if I am wrong. Was there any moment without interferences?" Then Rinpoche started laughing, and he said, "No." And I said, "Yes, so we relax, no? And we will find a way how to solve it, and we move on. And anyhow, they are." And he said, "Yes, yes, yes." So there is a way in which I believe that the more we are attached to this idea that everything will go perfectly, smoothly, without difficulties. Yes.
The
Tell me.
text says, "Please help me to pacify completely all outward interferences." Even if Rinpoche had, that means that this prayer doesn't work.
No, it works. The point is that we help us to pacify because I am in front of the interference. So that I need to overcome it. May I pacify the interference as I go along the way. The verse is not saying, "Please bless me to make sure that I will never ever get any interference." It is saying, when I get the interference, may I be able to deal with it in the right way. No? And this is the main thing. To pacify means I don't follow the interference and I'm able to go through it. Because it's important for us to have this understanding, because otherwise when we have an interference, we put ourselves in the position of victimizing ourselves, and then we get blocked. Okay? And one thing that is connected to this, but I don't know if we can have time to go through that right now. Very, very, very briefly. One of the dangers of the addiction to dopamine, because we have a lifestyle with very high level of addiction to dopamine, is that we can get dopamine so easily nowadays, by our phone, by food, by anything so easily, that it destroys our reward system. Our reward system is our capacity to have an objective and overcome difficulties as we go along this path. Because we don't care so much about what we do. We care about getting dopamine. And if I can get the same level of dopamine, the same level of pleasure, by having something here and by having something there, which one I go for, the easy or the difficult? The easy. So if I have the urge to have again pleasure, and I can get it easily, why would I put energy to something more difficult? Okay? And our reward system is very strongly connected to the dopamine. Because it works like, I experience something, it's very good. I want to repeat it again. Oh, but I need to go through trouble to repeat it again. But I'm able to go through trouble because I have the memory of how good it was. And then I'm going for it. But if more and more I don't need to put effort and I can get that state of pleasure, I lose my ability to deal with difficulties. And if we look nowadays, more and more in the younger generations, we are coming to a moment in which we are extremely fragile and incapable of overcoming difficulties. So whenever there is a difficulty, is the reason to give up. Why should I go up to there to take the water when I can get it here? And then we are losing this ability. And this has a very strong connection to our addiction to dopamine. So personally, one of the greatest dangers that I see with social media, with excessive pleasures from our senses, with this addictive life to dopamine that we have, one of the greatest dangers that I see is we are destroying our reward system. So we lose our ability to have higher objectives, we lose the ability to overcome difficulties, and so on. And this is, when we talk about the practice of Dharma, it becomes very difficult. It's not even more worrying about interferences. It's like first small interference. It's not even a blockage on the path. It's a completely stopping the whole path. I just said, why should I jump it? I can get it here. Finish. So this is something that we need to be careful, because in our system, the experiences we have, they interact in many ways. And the system of pleasure and dopamine, it is very deeply connected to our system of reward and putting energy.
Is that also short-term vision? Is that...
It's also connected to short-term, because what I want, if I can get pleasure very easily, why should I look long-term? And this is connected to the reward system. Reward system is also, okay, I can do this, and that to get there.
Like in politics as well, everywhere.
Everywhere
everything.
in society.
Yeah.
We are going in a society everywhere where we are turning more and more and more and more into short term. We see this in the way how we live, you know. Even when we buy something, we want to have it right away. If it comes in 2 days, it's already late. I don't know, Manibhadra, what is your delivery time? But, you know, hopefully it takes a few days so people can practice some patience, you know, and then don't enter into this immediate thing, you know. But this is the society in which we are, and there's some deep, deep harm happening through all of that. And when it comes to spiritual practice, I'm sorry, if we don't have some basic things, it's so difficult to go on. And it's like when my teacher in Tibet, I went to see him, and there was one boy bringing water up on his back, 20 liters of water. And I asked him, why can't we put a water pipe to get water to the house? And he answered me, if the young people don't learn to have constancy and effort for the basic things of life, such as having water, what about meditation and philosophy? It's a matter of habit, of putting effort, of needing to do it. Okay? So, once again, we focus clearly on what we want, our objective, on our capacity of getting there, and whatever comes in our way, we will find a way to overcome it. We don't let ourselves down simply because something, whatever, happened on the way as we go. Okay? And this is the best way, because then we find a way to pacify the interferences by, first of all, not following it. Okay? And then there is the dedication, which says, Kyo kuntu yanda lama dan dramichuki pera lonjachin sada lamgi yonde rabzone dorjachange koba nyurkipsho. In all my lives, may I never be separated from the perfect gurus. May I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the stages on the path, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. In few words, means at every life of mine, may I always be guided correctly on the path of enlightenment. And in such way, may I develop my qualities and quickly become a Buddha myself. This is the dedication that we do. And then there is the final part, which is very important. Let me just get me one watch here, so I just can have one idea. Okay. So, with this, we enter into the last part of the practice, which is actually the most important. And I will be very direct to the point. In this moment is the moment in which we do the final absorption, and we bring the result into the path. This is the moment in which we allow ourselves to experience the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa. So, we have gone through the process of inviting Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa, making offerings, prostrations, offerings, going through all the 7 limp prayers, Then after that we have requested the blessings and imagining our different defilements becoming weaker and our qualities becoming stronger. Then we imagine that we go through each one of the steps on the path to enlightenment. Now what happens is that we imagine and we allow ourselves to experience what would it be to become a Buddha ourselves. So we do this. If we try to say, if you try to generate out of your own self, I am a Buddha, it's almost impossible. It's very difficult. Instead, we imagine that Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa comes towards us, enters to our crown, gently descends from the crown to our heart, becomes small like a thumb inside our central channel. At our central channel, inside the heart chakra, there is an 8-petaled lotus with a sun and a moon cushion and the syllable Hum, that is our own mind, own very subtle body and mind. And then Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa sits at our heart, and the syllable Hum of our heart melts with the syllable Hum of Guru Tsongkhapa heart. It's like enters there, it becomes one. And in this moment, we allow ourselves to let go our own ordinary appearance. Imagine that we allow ourselves to rest in the mind of Tsongkhapa. Our body rests in the body of Tsongkhapa. Our mind rests in the mind of Tsongkhapa. Our speech rests in the speech of Tsongkhapa. So we allow ourselves to experience what would be to be Guru Tsongkhapa. So in this moment, we experience a deep state of peace, of satisfaction, of joy, with compassion, with harmony and wisdom. We imagine what would be to experience being one and inseparable of the same nature with Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa. And we allow ourselves to go through that. You know? It's like, I cannot generate this state by myself, but please take me in your arms and allow me to feel what you are. Something like that. So we enter into it, and we imagine that our mind rests in the mind of Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa, and we give up, you know, this attachment that we have for our own ordinary identity. We give up in a moment the attachment that we have for our own anger, or fear, or sadness, and so on. And we allow ourselves to experience this state of peace. Okay? And this is something that is a very powerful meditation. This is when we say, Palden Tsawe Lama Rinpoche, Dagi Chiwar Meditation, La Karin Chimo Gone Jason Te Kosun Tudin Oru Tsedu So, Palden Tsawe Lama, Dagi Ning Dagi Jimper Meditation, La Karin Chimo Gone Jason Te Cholon Tumong Oru Tsedu So, Palden Tsawe Lama Rinpoche, Dagi Ningar Meditation, La Karin Chimo Gone Jason Te, Janchu Nimbo Pardo Tembra Shuk. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my crown. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. Then we imagine coming to our crown chakra. Then we do the prayer. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide at the lotus and moon seat at my here it's written heart, actually it should be throat. At my throat. Because there are two systems. One, it's directly from the crown to the heart, another one, it's on the throat. But the Tibetan is Jimper also, so here is on the throat chakra. Sit at my throat. Guide me with your great kindness, and please remain stable without separation from my body, speech, and mind until I attain enlightenment. No, actually, sorry, in the English version there is a mistake here. Instead of "and please remain stable" is "and please grant me all the realizations of body, speech, and mind." This is the correct. Please grant me all the realizations of body, speech, and mind. Then the third verse is the same, which is magnificent and precious root Guru. Please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness, and please remain stable without separation from my body, speech, and mind until I attain enlightenment. That's correct here. The previous one is please help me to gain all the realizations of body, speech, and mind. So in this moment, we stay in the state of meditation as long as we can, and we imagine our mind that rests in the mind of Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa. Okay, that's actually one of the most important forms of meditation and the most powerful forms of meditation that we can do also. Okay, and then when we finish that, then we imagine that before we enter into our daily activities, Guru Buddha Tsongkhapa that is in our heart, the lotus flower closes. He's inside like a 5-color rainbow inside our heart, and around the lotus flower there is an orange, like golden orange light that goes around and protects the lotus. And this golden or orange golden light, it is made of mantra syllables, which is this mantra Om Arapatsanadi Guru Sumati Kirti Shri Bhadra Sarva Siddhi Atishtana Atishtiti Kurbantu. This is the mantra that is going around. And then we enter into our daily actions. We do the final dedications, which are the first one is a little different from the ones that we are used to do. The other ones are all the common dedications. The first dedication says, in all my lives, in all my life, through the victorious one Lama Tsongkhapa, acting in person as the Mahayana Guru, may I never turn aside for even an instant from the excellent path praised by the victorious ones. Which means, in all my life, may Guru Tsongkhapa always be present in a physical form to guide me on the path to enlightenment. So, in all my lives, may Guru Tsongkhapa manifest in the form of other people around me. May there will be a physical manifestation that I can actually connect, and may through that he guide me on the path to enlightenment. So, when we enter into that moment, when we do the dedications, we connect with Guru Tsongkhapa in our heart that is present at everything that we do. So, helping us in the moment that we take decisions, blessing us in the moment that we interact with other people. When we enjoy a good moment, we offer to Guru Tsongkhapa at our heart, and so on, and remains there in our heart. Okay? Then there are the normal dedications that we always do. Okay? So in this way, we conclude the Guru Yoga of Lama Tsongkhapa with the foundation of all good qualities. And one thing which is important to remember is that the foundation of all good qualities is a text that is there to connect us with the different steps that we need to do, to remind us of these steps. It's not a text of explanation. We gave some explanation together, but as we read it, it's there to remind us, okay, I need to do this, then I need to do that, then after that I will do that. It's bringing us on each one of the steps. First I develop a correct relation with a spiritual guide. Then I have the preciousness of this life. Then there is the certainty of impermanence and death. Then I understand the law of karma. Then after that I see samsara, general and specific aspects of samsara, and I wish to get out of samsara. After that I open my heart towards others, and then I develop bodhicitta. Then I start practicing the perfections, and I end up meditating in emptiness. And then together with that, I enter with this base, I enter into the path of the Vajrayana by practicing the generation and completion stage. And in this way, then I can actually complete the path. So I have, what are the steps that I have in front of me? Okay? And when we do the practice, try to do it with presence. When we do a sadhana like this, it's like creating an experience and allowing us to go through it, and then after going back to our daily life once again, being transformed by it. Because if we are able, as we do the practice, truly to feel the presence of Guru Tsongkhapa, truly to go to the 7 limb prayers by admitting our mistakes, rejoicing, and so on, and then as we receive the blessings and we meditate in ourselves becoming inseparable with Guru Tsongkhapa, we are actually interacting with positive qualities. And then we transform ourselves in accordance to it. Okay? And all this process is not a conceptual process, it's an experience that we induce ourselves through it. Okay? So what I tried to do in these 2 days was to share with you a little bit, not the meaning of the words, but little bit the states of mind that we develop in each part of the practice. Okay? So when you do this sadhana or other sadhana, try to remember that there is how to recite, how to visualize, and which state of mind to generate. And sometimes we may do a practice a little bit fast because of whatever reason, but it's also good sometimes to be able just to give the calm and the time to sit down and to do each part and to allow the inner process of that state of mind to be generated, to feel the taste within it. Okay? So, this is mainly everything regarding it. And then one thing that I like very much of going through this text of the Foundation of All Good Qualities, that when I go through it, I look, I say, the path is not that difficult. No. Truly, you know. To be able to explain it in 2 days, or not? No, I'm not joking. We're not talking about something that we cannot even understand the meaning, that is so far from us. You know, to the preciousness of this life. And so on. Sure, if we pass most of our time distracted, then, you know, we familiarize ourselves with distraction. So, as Atisha was saying, no? If we stay most of the time during the day distracted, and at night we fall asleep, distracted by what we saw during the day, life goes by with that. If we focus our mind into training, remember, life is a constant process of training. We just need to choose in what we want to train. And there is no choice not to train. We can be training ourselves in jealousy, we can be training ourselves in insatisfaction, we can be training ourselves in so many things. Or we can be training ourselves in patience, in gratitude, in stability, in concentration, in awareness. There are different things that we can train ourselves into. And this is a process of constant training. And someone may say, but can't I ever relax? You can train yourself in relaxing also. It works also, but you cannot stop training. It's not so easy to train yourself in relaxing, actually. Okay, that's a very important part of training also, to keep a relaxed mind. Okay? And actually meditation is a state of relaxation, but that's another subject. So, my request is please do the best of your efforts to be able to put it into practice. You know, Tsongkhapa, we have a very profound connection with Tsongkhapa on many levels, but it's something that you need to experience yourself. You can read the life of Tsongkhapa, you can recite the mantra, you can recite this prayer, you can really connect on many levels, and then you need to feel something that it's very much based on your own experience, but it's a very powerful tool that we all have. Okay, so as Rinpoche said, sometimes, often I remember him saying, see you sometimes, see you every moment. You know, and when we have our minds and our hearts going in the same direction, this makes us to be connected and near to each other. We can be working desk side by side every day. We can be sleeping in the same bed. We can be seeing each other every day and still be extremely far away from each other. What makes us to be near is our mind and our heart going in the same direction. And the direction that we go is the direction of the Dharma, is the direction of this path that we have been talking and sharing all the time. Okay? So I'm sure that we are together in the same direction as we go along. Okay? And then I hope to see everyone also soon in Italy also, everyone very welcome. It's very good there to be streaming, but it's good to be physically together also. That's even better. So I really hope everyone that you can to come soon. And as I said in other occasions, this next February there will be the trip to Nepal, starting on the 9th or on the 9th of February until the 23rd of February. Then 23rd of February I'm going to Dhammakaya in Thailand, in Bangkok. I am staying in Bangkok just 2 nights, but if you are going to Dhammakaya and like to participate in this ceremony with this incredible place, they are like, last time I have been there, there was 200,000 people together meditating, and it's something quite amazing in a way. But then once you're in Thailand, you can still go to see something else. You don't need to stay only 2 nights in Bangkok. But, and then another thing also is that I am planning, I said this in other occasions already, but as we are here, I am planning to organize things to be able to go 2024, end of July 2024, to go to Tibet. This is my wish, okay? But for the moment, there is nothing more than a wish and a date, which is something. And we are talking with the different travel agencies, understanding how is the situation to go with a group guided by one Lama into Tibet, which is not that obvious. There are many conditions which are not so obvious. So what I can say is that I thought, instead of giving the news, yes, we will go to Tibet, who likes to come, at the last moment, my point is, if you have any wish to come to Tibet, you can put aside money and time. Then if the trip happens, we go together. If not, you have some extra time and extra money with you. Okay? This is my thought. And because it's not a very cheap trip to do. And, I have no idea. I have no idea nowadays how much it would be. I'm not telling any number when I have no idea, but need to put some money aside. If you put more than what you need, better for you. If you put less, you need to find a solution when the time comes. But it's also a good training to spend as less as you can, so you can put money aside. But I just wanted to share this, because then, if this will be possible, we will not have a very high short notice. So based on that, we need somehow to start preparing. Okay? So the idea is from more or less from between the 20th of July to the 20th of August. This is more or less the time in which it's planned. Okay? The trip should be done in 2 phases, which is Central Tibet, second part, and first part, Eastern Tibet, which is Demagonsar Monastery and places like this called Yushu. So this is the idea, just as we are planning for it. Okay?
So there is no, the summer retreat is before or after?
Summer retreat will be before. And even if we are going to Tibet, still there will be some activity in Manibhadra during summertime also.
Okay.
This will be there, it's for sure. Okay? So, but the teachings will come before that. There will be all the month of July, there will be all the teachings and so on. And then the month of end of July and August, if everything goes as I hope, then there will be the possibility to go to Tibet. Okay? So this is just sharing a little bit also this with you, some practical aspects. And I think this is all. So now we will do the final conclusion. We do the quick Guru Puja. Okay? And then when will be my time to go to the airport, I will leave. So as we do the Guru Puja, who is Umze today? Yes. So we can do the first part a little bit without so much melody. We do a little bit faster. And then as we will go through the moment of the tzok offering, then everybody that likes can come to say goodbye. And then when it's the right time for the airport, I can go. Okay? And just one more thing, last but not least, I am very happy to come here to Holland every time. I feel very good, like in family, together with everyone. And I really wish that we can continue again and again to be together in the same way. and I really wish in Tibetan it says Tutan Kompel, may your practice increase. Truly, that's the best wish that I can give. Okay? And may you walk on your path in the best way. Okay. Yeah.
Oké, we starten Rinpoche vers 1. Er zijn boekjes aanwezig voor wie het niet heeft.
Deze staat ook voor Rinpoche's long life Surfing, dus voor degene die wil.
Lama ganda sewe kulde se so chocho trope no